What is up, everybody? Just saying, back at you with another podcast episode. I'm Jairus, and as always, I'm joined by,
Shay?
and it took us about like 600 takes to finally get going.
Yeah.
A lot technical difficulties, so I'm not sure what's going on. But
Speaking difficulties too, but that's okay.
we're finally back. You didn't have to say anything. Could have kept your mouth shut. So yeah, we're back. Hope you all had a fantastic week. I know we did. We decorated around the house a little bit for the holidays.
Yep. Happy holidays, everyone.
We have a Just Saying Christmas tree
Yeah.
that we're going to decorate, and we'll be posting that to the Instagram. So make sure to follow our Instagram and other socials that will be linked below. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started because we have a lot to talk about. Leading off with the biggest news of the week, possibly the year. Juan Soto, former New York Yankee, because he has signed not just any contract, but the biggest contract in North American sports, which after Ohtani signed his contract, I didn't think we would hear those words for at least a few years.
Yeah. Agreed.
So the contract is a 15-year, $765 million contract with the New York Mets. Go a little across from the, Bronx to Long Island. A little Bronx to Long Island action. Yankees World Series blunder, probably unrelated, but we'd like to think it is. Anyways, the full deals of the contract, $75 million signing bonus. All the money is non-deferred, which means that all the money will be paid out in full throughout the length of the contract. Comes with a full no trade clause. And this is the interesting part. It comes with the 5th-year opt-out option for Soto. The Mets can void, but Soto's salary will increase for the last 10 years to $55 million a year, which will bring the total value of the contract to $805 million.
There's honestly like no words. It's at this point, and we'll get into it with our discussion in a little bit, but at this point, who's going to be the first ever $1 billion contract? That's what we're going towards right now.
Yeah, like I said, when Ohtani signed his contract, like we were blown away. Granted, like he's the best baseball player without a doubt. Two-way baseball player right now. So yeah. And Soto's not a pitcher, he's an outfielder. So for him to get a contract literally a year later that's worth, a little, substantially more than Ohtani's, I would say, is just bewildering.
Yeah. There's, like I said, there's just no words. It's honestly incredible. I agree with you. I thought we would see Ohtani's contract stick for a while, not just a couple years, a while. But clearly, we were both wrong in those assumptions. It took just a year, and Soto, biggest sports contract ever. So it's just incredible.
Yeah, but this money is also not unwarranted, and I'll tell you why. He's only 26 years old, so he is a few years younger than Ohtani. And he is one of the most dangerous hitters in the MLB. So, little stats for you in 2024, he had a .988 slugging percentage, which was 3rd overall in the MLB. .288 batting average, 41 home runs, which was 4th overall. 109 RBIs, which was tied for 6th overall. 128 runs scored, and 129 walks.
Yeah, the Mets outdueled the Yankees with this contract. Yankees also offered him a 15-year deal, but I think for a few million less, if I remember correctly. Um, the Mets are betting on Soto not only to stay consistent the next 15 years, but to get better because he's only 26. I think this is a high risk, high reward kind of contract.
Yeah, and Soto, like everybody that's gone to LA over the last year has, yeah, I'll defer money, to help the team. Soto's like, nope. Like I want all my money now.
Yeah.
So he didn't do the Mets any favors on his end.
No, so
He got his paycheck.
he got his paycheck. He's betting on himself, just like he did a few years ago with a 15-year when he turned down a 15-year, $450 million contract with the Nationals. Obviously,
Which was a huge risk.
oh yeah, huge risk, but it clearly worked out by a mile. So he's betting on himself again to be able to carry this team, which he could absolutely do. But it's just a high risk, high reward contract. If they don't win a World Series, I would say it's a complete failure.
Yeah.
Even if Soto has incredible numbers and all that, the main thing is a championship. So if they don't do it, but there's no salary cap. So they could still build around him if they pump even more money into the team.
Yeah, the Mets, no doubt, one of those markets that can definitely pay players. Um, Obviously, coming off of the run they had in the playoffs and the season they are, convinced, hey, like we'll go make a huge splash and, really go for it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they're doing. So we'll see if they make any other moves in the off season and, what they do. But clearly, they have the talent that they're going to build around in
Yeah.
Juan Soto.
Now we're gonna see for the next while. um, Soto versus Otani a few times a year, every single year, because they're in the same league. So that's going to be fun to see.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Reportedly, the Red Sox were in the bidding, the
Mm-hmm.
Blue Jays, um, the Yankees obviously were trying to get him re-signed. So there were quite a few teams that were in the running. I think it's a little unfortunate that the Blue Jays didn't end up getting him because last year they were in the running for Otani, so they have missed out on another
Yep.
big free agent. So a lot of fans are questioning the front office, like how desperate do you guys really want to win, kind of sort of thing. But I mean, they still have Vladimir there, and they did finish at the bottom of the division. So was that a one-off? What do they need to do? The fans over the last year have been like just wanting for them to do something.
Yeah, last year was a very disappointing year by far for Blue Jays fans.
Sorry, Jake.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, Jake. But I as a Red Sox fan, I couldn't give two shits if the Jays missed out on another big splash. Honestly, I'm happy about it because we didn't get him either, and thank God the Yankees didn't keep him. But
The Rays had a chance though.
no, it does show that the Jays at least have the money or are in the range of money for a mega superstar. But I would argue that with Otani and now Soto, the Jays aren't in the same position clearly as the Dodgers were to go win a World Series. Since the Dodgers just won a World Series, and the same position as the Mets. The Mets got all the way to the NLCS, and we're right there. So maybe Soto thinks, hey, this is the best team to compete with the Dodgers right now. So, uh, sorry, Blue Jays fans, sucks for you.
Yeah, but either way, we'll see, how this contract plays out, especially like the first 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
10 years. But the numbers do not lie. Soto has been a huge impact player on every team he's been on. He has championship experience with the Nationals in 2019, and just what he's already been able to do at 26 years old, he is already amongst some of the all-time greats when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to. I think I read especially with his like home run versus walk percentage or seasons. Like he is already like third most all time. It was like 25, 125 seasons.
Yeah, he is a generational talent by far, and I don't think the injury bug has bit him too much. I know he's had a couple injuries, but I don't think it's been anything to be concerned about. So really, the only thing that would stop him from continuing to improve and be elite all year long, like he has been, is some injury to pop up. Um, so we'll see what happens. It's like I said, high risk, high reward kind of contract for the Mets.
Yeah, so that begs the question, and we've already talked about this with the Dodgers, but now with Soto coming and signing this massive contract, the voices are getting louder. Like, how far does this go before like baseball does something about it?
Yeah, I there's going to be a lot of arguments to maybe get a cap on the a salary cap in the MLB or a more aggressive luxury tax or something, because it is getting pretty crazy. Um, I definitely think, especially if some other superstar emerges with this young class right now, even below Soto's age, we could see $1 billion contract if teams aren't careful or the MLB's not careful within the next 4 to 5 years. Um, could there be changes? I'm still not convinced that there's going to be any significant changes. Baseball's
No,
so
they make the MLB makes a ton of money,
yeah.
so they don't. I don't think they really have a reason to even consider a salary cap.
Well, even still, like the MLB is so old. It's the oldest sport, and they're so based on tradition that it takes so long for them to make any real big changes. The pitch clock a couple years ago was a massive change that most people didn't like, and now a couple years later, it's become a very good thing for the game. But I I think there might be something. Voices, like you said, have definitely gotten louder. So I think it'll definitely be discussed at like the winter meetings this year and probably next year. But I'd have no idea what you do because I think you're too far gone now with Otani and Soto signing these massive contracts. How are you going to put a salary cap on these teams now when it would probably destroy the Dodgers and the Mets because you can't just not pay the guys because of a salary cap.
Yeah, if they implemented a salary cap now, like it would be a disaster for those teams that have already went and spent money. I can't obviously cannot see them doing it the next CBA. Maybe later down the road, and even then, I don't think so. I don't think they would go as far as to implement a salary cap. The only way that I could see it is if more small market teams like just continue to suck. And like,
Yeah.
maybe there's owners that start to be like, we're like getting screwed over. Unless, owners that want to win, instead of like make money.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Uh that's the only way I could see it, but like you said with the tradition, I mean, there's always been the big spenders in baseball. There's always been the small market teams, and it's not like there hasn't been small market teams that are successful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think it would take a lot, like we said before, for them to implement a salary cap. But that'd be an interesting look if we did a video on that.
Yeah, I agree. I just don't see anything happening anytime soon. For the longest time, the saying has been, if you want to make money in sports, you go play baseball. Because there's no salary cap. So I'm interested to see how the other sports may respond to this. Uh, you might have a lot of young kids, even though football is the most popular sport, you might have some kids be like, yeah, but the money's in baseball. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how this all shapes out in the next, 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be very interesting. Moving on, we have a brand new sport on the table. Not necessarily a brand new sport,
New for this year.
but this year, uh, the PWHL is in full swing. It has started. They've already gone through a few games. Um, so the schedule this year is a 30-game schedule, a little bit expanded from last year.
Yep.
They're also having a PWHL takeover tour, which will feature games in many NHL markets, including Seattle, Denver, Buffalo, Raleigh, Detroit, St. Louis, Vancouver, and not an NHL market, but they will be playing a game in Quebec City.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
So that's fantastic. Get the product out there. NHL, good decision. Keep working with the PWHL and
Yeah.
bringing women's hockey around the country.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it's great. The last season the PWHL had was a huge success. There was a lot of turnout. A lot of people were watching. Um, so yeah, really really nice. So for the standings, Minnesota right now leads the league in points, goals for, and tied for second in goals against through the first 3 games.
And this is Jarris's team, the Minnesota
Frost.
Frost.
Yeah. I'm still not like a huge fan of the name. I
It's
I don't
slowly
hate it.
growing on you, though.
I don't hate it. I just think they could have done some a little bit better.
Yeah.
Um, but for Boston, the Boston Fleet,
Yeah.
which I think is better
Yeah.
than the
Agreed.
Frost. They're currently last in points, and this is only through the first 3 games. But
Yeah, 3 games.
they're last in points and goals for, but they're first in goals against. So they're getting the defense and the goaltending, but they just can't score
Mm-hmm.
right now. So that's first and last, and then rounding out the middle, you got the New York Sirens, with 5 points. Montreal is tied with them with 5 points. The Montreal Victoire, which is victory in French.
I like that name a lot.
I love and the logo
Yeah.
and the colors.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite team design for sure. Below them, my least favorite team design is the Ottawa Charge, which looks like a Temu Calgary Flames logo. They have 4 points in the standings, so they're fourth. And then Toronto is fifth. Toronto Scepters, which is another fantastic look for the team.
Mm-hmm.
They have 3 points. So that's the standings update. We'll be doing coverage on this sport as it goes on. Probably do, a mid-season video on it and just, kind of follow it. Since it has less games, we might check up on it a little bit more often if we decide. But yeah, we're really excited for women's hockey to be back. We'll be trying to watch some games this season. And my Minnesota Frost are the defending champions.
That's right.
So if it's anything, like I hope it's a rematch between them and Boston. Because if that series is anything like last year,
Yeah.
that was insane.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'd be really excited. A little bit of a player update. The first overall pick went to New York. Her name is Sarah Fillier.
We don't. I'm sorry, Sarah. We don't know how to properly pronounce
I think she's from Ontario. But she leads the league in assists right now with 4 and points with 6 through the first 3 games. So New York finished last in the standings last season, and this is something they really needed. So they have a good scoring, playmaking center up front.
Yeah.
So we'll see how she pans out.
Definitely a hot start.
The draft class so far is looking pretty good. So we might do a deeper dive into that as well. It's way too early, and we don't really know much about anything. But Shay, who do you think comes out on top?
Boston Fleet.
Yep.
Turn it around. we're turning those ships around and going to make the playoffs and win the cup.
Yeah, I'll say just because it's the second season, I'll pick a rematch, like I said, between Minnesota and Boston.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens.
We'll see.
Yeah, there's your PWHL. Moving on to the NHL, because we didn't get to hockey last week, so I'm very excited to get to it this week. Starting off with the Lightning and our teams. The Lightning are 14-9-2 overall, and in the first wild card, they're fourth in the division. And the Bruins are third in the division with the 15-11-3 record. The Panthers, the Washington Capitals, Minnesota, and Vegas all lead their divisions. And right now, with the current playoff picture, Toronto and Boston would play each other. So you probably win. The Panthers would play the Lightning.
So you'd probably lose.
I probably lose. Although we're better than last year, so we would see. Think the Capitals would be, the Capitals would be playing the Rangers, and the Devils would be playing Carolina, which those would be very good series.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota would be playing the Avalanche, and then Dallas would play Winnipeg, and then Vegas would play the Canucks, and no, the Oilers. The Vegas would play the Oilers, and then the Canucks would play the Kings.
Yeah.
So those would be pretty good series, but that's who's in the playoff picture right now. And, if you haven't watched our regular season standings update for hockey, our predictions, go check that out on your YouTube channel.
Since that's posted now, make sure you check out all our content that just dropped. There's hours and hours of content.
Yeah. So for the Lightning, they're doing well. They've won their last two games over Vancouver and San Jose. We're better than we were last year, but we look kind of inconsistent from one night to the next. So I can't really give like a good gauge on this team. I think it's really just gonna depend on, how the season goes. But they are 6-3-1 in their last 10. So, we're heading in the right direction. The Bruins, though, they're 7-2 after firing their beloved coach, Jim Montgomery, under interim Joe Sacco, who's the assistant coach for them.
Mm-hmm.
After being 8-9-3 in 2024, they showed Montgomery the door. He is now coaching in St. Louis. Shay, how do you feel about them firing Montgomery?
I said this when we talked about it. God, it's been a few weeks now, right?
Yeah.
I said this when we first talked about it a few weeks ago. I still stand by it, even though I would love, obviously, to see the Bruins make the playoffs. But I hope we don't make the playoffs just for Jim Montgomery, because I don't agree with the decision at all. He is a fantastic coach. The numbers speak for themselves, and the team speaks for him as well. So I just think it's a stupid decision, and Don Sweeney and everyone up in the front office were, in my personal opinion, just covering their asses to not get fired themselves.
Yeah, and it's very noteworthy that Montgomery got fired because in his time in Boston, he was 120, 41, and 23, including that record-setting season in 2023.
Now, yeah, of course, didn't win a cup and didn't go super far in the playoffs or anything, but yeah, you have to give him more than 3 seasons, was it?
Yeah.
Especially with a record like that, he deserves more than 3 seasons. Like, you got to give him time to try to get to the cup. Now, if we kept missing the cup and like getting knocked out in the first round or missing the playoffs, then okay, maybe after like 5 years. But I just don't agree with it at all.
Yeah, I agree. We've talked about before the current Bruins makeup of their roster is not great. Outside of Pasternak, you don't really have a driver of the offense, especially down the middle. You don't have that elite playmaking center that can play with Pasternak.
Mm-hmm.
You have Zaka, you have Lindholm, who they've been better lately, but they're not a number one center.
Yeah. No. Now, if we do go on, say we win the cup this year, even though I still highly doubt it. We win the cup with Joe Sacco, then I'll take back what I said. Just like we did with the Oilers last year. Like, okay, it was the right decision. Clearly, it worked out. And I will say that if we get to the finals, I'll say that if the Bruins firing Montgomery was the right decision.
Yeah,
But until then, I need to be proven wrong.
yeah. The defense has not been great. Um, like I said, they've been better lately, but up until Montgomery got fired, the way the Bruins roster was constructed was not at that point was not even a playoff team, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Marchand has been on the decline for a few years now. Um, and if your roster's not good, that's on the general manager. That's not on your coach.
Yeah, your coach and GM work together to try and build the roster, but ultimately it's still the GM's choice.
Yeah, and even before Montgomery, like when they fired Bruce Cassidy in 2022, after that season, I was shocked.
Yeah, so was I.
In that season, he had a 51, 26, and 5 record.
Yeah, now
They
I
were out in the first round in the
yeah,
playoffs, sure.
I said the same thing though with Cassidy after he was fired. I didn't agree with it at all. I didn't want us to make the playoffs or anything. I was very upset. And then Montgomery comes in and does what he does, and okay, I changed my mind. But
Yeah. There could have been something else that was going on that we don't know about.
yeah,
Apparently with Montgomery and Sweeney, they were not quite seeing eye to eye on the direction of the team. And then with Cassidy, apparently there were reports that him and the players weren't getting along in the locker room. So there might be some stuff behind the scene with Montgomery
yeah,
that we don't know about that led him to getting fired, but on the surface, it does not look great.
correct. Yeah.
So far, like I said, they're 7-2. You know, it looks like it maybe was the right decision, but usually when a team fires their coach, they have like that jump. And usually teams will wait to fire a coach when they have like an easier schedule. So it's a 7-2 record, but it's a very small sample size, and
Yeah.
we're gonna have to see how the season continues to really get in a gauge. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, there were so many coaches that were fired from their teams last season. This season, we've seen a few, not as many as last season, but that really begs the question: like, are coaches in the NHL getting fired like too easily?
Yeah, I think for the most part, I think the only caveat would be maybe two caveats would be if there is some really massive internal issue where he's forced to get fired, or two, it's just an abysmal start, an abysmal record, and there's no coming back from it. Other than that, yeah, I think they are getting fired way too easily. I don't think maybe there's not enough protections. I mean, they're still probably getting paid because their contracts. Obviously, the team has to still pay them the money, but
Yeah.
besides that, it's just the world we live in now. I think the same thing happens in the NFL. Teams just want to win, and the coaches usually, because they cost less than the players most of the time, usually get the short end of the stick.
Yeah, it just seems to me like outside of a few, like John Cooper and Mike Sullivan that have been with their teams for years,
Mm-hmm.
there just doesn't seem like there's really a lot of job security
Yeah.
in the NHL. And I don't. It wouldn't go as far as like they would change stuff to where they have protection. I mean, at the end of the day, teams want to win, and it's a lot easier to fire a coach than to like trade a player.
Yep.
Like so. with the cap going up, it will be a lot easier to make moves. But the Bruins did not have cap space to make significant changes to their roster.
Yeah.
Um, I think all of it's on Sweeney, and if they still miss the playoffs this year, like if he's not fired, he's definitely going to be on the hot seat.
Yeah, definitely.
So, all right. Well, so for the Bruins, a big story with them as well has been the goaltending. Um, this offseason, they traded Olmark to the Senators.
Mhm.
They got back a first round pick though for that, so I think that was a good move.
Well, yeah,
Obviously,
we said we couldn't. The Bruins couldn't have two number ones
yeah,
on the same roster either, so they
yeah,
had to get rid of somebody.
exactly. Obviously, with Swayman's contract coming up and that they need to sign him, he was going to be the starter. So far, though, it's pretty interesting how they've played out. So I got some stats here. So for Swayman, so far in 2024, with 20 games played, he has a 9-9-2 record, an 893 save percentage, a 3.02 goals against average, and this is the one that really measures individual performance. He has a -7 goals save above expected,
Hmm.
which means they look at all the chances, and the -7 means that he's saved 7 goals less than expected. So the
Yeah.
chances that he's expected to make a save on.
Hmm.
For Allmark, he has a 7-7-2 record with the Senators, an 898 save percentage, and a 2.81 goals against average. So very similar stats for these two goalies. But for the goals save above expected, he is at a 1.26 positive. So is it a reflection on the defense? Maybe.
Maybe.
But I do find it interesting how Swayman signed an 8-year contract and Allmark signed a 4-year contract for the exact same cap hit.
Yeah.
So pretty interesting. And like compared to last season when they were together, because I thought it was important to take a look at that. Swayman was 25, 10, and 8 with a 916 save percentage and a 2.53 goals against average. Allmark only played 4 less games, splitting the net between him and Swayman. He had a 22, 10, and 7 record, a 915 save percentage, and a 2.57 goals against average. So even when they were in Boston compared to now, they have very similar stats.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
I found that pretty interesting.
Yeah, they seem to be very very
Tied.
similar goalies, even though Swayman's quite a bit younger than Olmark.
Yeah. So might do a video on that too, like diving deeper into that. But you know, the Bruins defense hasn't been great, but they also don't have the offense. I think Ottawa, from what I've seen, has more offense. They have a younger defense, which they're prone to make more mistakes.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think with their ability, I think they're both kind of the same
Yeah.
right now. Uh, but with Swayman, I think Swayman definitely needs to be better because he is younger and he's signed to a longer term contract.
Yeah.
And he fought very, very hard to get that contract
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
up until literally the first like few games of the season.
Yeah.
Then it finally got done. So yeah, pretty interesting. But that's not the only goalie that got paid
Mhm.
because Igor Shesterkin of the New York Rangers just signed an 8-year, $11.5 million contract per season, the richest goalie contract ever signed in National Hockey League history.
Pretty good amount of money for a goalie.
Yeah, that doesn't kick in until next year, but the projected cap for next year is 92.4 million. He's going to be making 13%
Yeah.
against the cap.
Yeah.
Just one player as a goalie.
Yeah.
So this is unheard of. Is this too much money? And I think it is because you have to, even with the cap going up, it's not like the Rangers are in are going into their contention window, they've been in contention now for the last few years. They're in win now mode. So
Mm-hmm.
to tie up this much money in their goaltending, I think is a huge risk. Especially now because they've wanted to make roster moves. They've come out and said that over the last couple weeks that they want to shake up the roster. So they're going to have to do that this season,
Yeah.
while they have the cap space.
Yeah, I think it's I think it's probably too much as well. It's just like Soto's contract, high risk, high reward. But maybe the Rangers clearly New York thinks he's irreplaceable, which you could argue that's true. But
Which he has been, like, I'd say definitely a top 5 goaltender over the last few years.
yeah,
And in the playoffs, he is like a game changer.
yeah, exactly.
He is very important to that team.
So you could say right now it's too much, but maybe clearly the Rangers think it's not. And if they go and win the Stanley Cup within the next couple years, it was clearly the right decision. So
Right, and that's the thing with contracts. Like, if the team doesn't win a championship,
yeah,
that's going to be what they point at.
exactly.
As soon as the team wins the cup, it doesn't like not become a problem, but it definitely makes it a lot easier
Mm-hmm.
to swallow. So, yeah. Personally, like I said, I think it's way too much money. Like, I think you have to distribute that money in other areas. But we'll see. We'll see how it works out for the Rangers, and we'll see how it works out for Shesterkin. Goalies can be very unpredictable from year to year,
Yep.
as we've seen in the past. So moving on, got a couple trades to talk about before we take our break. This one is very interesting because this has been rumored for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
The captain of the New York Rangers, defenseman Jacob Trouba, has finally played his last game in New York. The few days ago now, he was traded to Anaheim. And going back to New York was depth defenseman Euro Vakanainen and a conditional 2025 fourth round pick. Now, when I saw this trade, I was like, okay, that's a good trade. So the Rangers probably retain, like, 25-50% of the $8 million cap hit.
Mm-hmm.
They did not retain any money. They did not retain any money
Which
on a
frees up
guy
a
that,
bit for the Shesterkin contract.
yeah, and like this season too,
Yeah.
because they still have that cap space.
Yeah.
They did not retain any money, and they got a player and a draft pick. And he still has 1 year on his contract, so he's going to be in Anaheim at least through next season.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Why are teams helping out the Rangers? Like, last season, or this past summer, they dumped off Barclay Goodrow to the Sharks on waivers, and the Sharks picked him up. He had a $3.62 million cap hit for like the next 3 years.
Yeah.
Granted, they didn't get anything back from, Barclay Goodrow because they put him on waivers. But in this trade, I don't know what Pat Verbeek is doing. You have the Rangers in such a tough spot. Why did you not say, well, you know, you need this player off your roster, so we need a a first round draft pick.
Yeah.
And even then, like, it would have been a later pick, if the Rangers get it together and make the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
It's very weird.
it's very, very weird.
It's
Very
like
weird.
teams just want to help the Rangers. Like, here you go, Drury. Here's an early Christmas present. Like, we'll take the full salary of your captain.
Maybe.
But yeah, besides from that though, like, it doesn't look great. Like, he's been in trade rumors for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But he is the captain of the team, and he does a lot for the city. He has like his own foundation. And this past summer he vetoed a trade because his wife was finishing like medical residency.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't want to like uproot her and leave. But basically Drury sat him down and was like, you're done. Like, you're either going to get traded or we're going to put you on waivers and you don't get to decide where you want to go. because if you don't have a no movement clause, which is different from a no trade clause, if you're put on waivers, that pretty much gets around the no trade clause.
Yeah.
So to me, it doesn't look like a great move. And to see a team, team's captain go like that, I I don't know if it's going to help the morale in that locker room.
I don't know. If they
So
keep winning, though, winning solves everything. So
yeah, so far after the trade, they've still lost their last 2 games.
yeah,
So yeah, it's a very like interesting situation. And now the conversation has came like that's not fair for a player to negotiate a no trade clause because that's their right. And then now GMs can get around that by just placing them on waivers. They lose them for nothing, like so they obviously lose out as well. But a lot of players, and this is players, not like people, like these actual players
yeah.
that are saying like that needs to change.
Next CBA.
So yeah, it's very, very interesting situation how the Ducks just gifted them that. I don't understand. We had to dump off a second round pick to get rid of Ryan McDonough and his $6.25 million cap hit before he traded back.
Yeah.
And then just this past offseason, the Red Wings dumped off a defenseman, Jake Wallman, and a second round pick. He only costed $3.4 million. And they gave him to the Sharks with a second round pick. So this just does not make any sense.
It doesn't.
I would be very like skeptical
Yep.
if I was a Ducks fan. So, but the final trade of the day, and man, like having trades this early in the season is like not normal.
Yeah, we're still a couple months from the trade deadline, right?
Yeah, in like March, early March.
Oh
So,
yeah.
yeah, this is like this is good stuff. This is good stuff. So Colorado gets rid of Alexander Georgiev, who's been really struggling this year. They trade him to San Jose along with depth forward Nikolai Kovalenko, a 2025 fifth-round pick, and a 2026 second-round pick. In exchange, they get the goalie from San Jose, Mackenzie Blackwood, depth forward Giovanni Smith, and a 2027 fifth. For Blackwood, he's played against, in front of a bad defense in San Jose because they're one of the worst teams in the league.
Yeah.
But he has a 6.93 record, but a 9.10 save percentage, and a 3.9 goals save above expected. And for Georgiev, playing against a great Abs defense, he has not fared good. He has a good record at 8-7, but he has an 874 save percentage
Mm-hmm.
and a negative 9.4 goals save above expected.
Whew.
So maybe a change of scenery will help with Georgiev.
Yeah.
We've seen before San Jose has taken on players and then flipped them, for draft picks later on. For Colorado, they're obviously betting that Mackenzie Blackwood can keep it up, his performance. And, initially I didn't like this trade, but honestly, I think it's a trade that could work out for both teams.
Yeah.
Because Colorado is in win now mode. So they need the best goaltending they can get.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
Georgiev was not cut.
Yeah.
So we'll see if any more moves come out, but we're going to go ahead and take our break here. So thank you guys for listening so much up to this point. Make sure to follow over our socials, and we will see you all very soon. Welcome back, everyone, after the break. We're going to go ahead and move right along into college football. Conference championship games were on this past week.
Mm-hmm.
Shay, you watched a very, very exciting game between Georgia and Texas, didn't you?
Yep, I was only able to watch the final 2 minutes of the regulation. Sorry, and overtime. I wasn't able to watch the whole game because I had to work as per usual. But it was very, very exciting. I don't like either team, so I wish neither team won, but somebody had to win, and Georgia won, and they won on their backup quarterback had to come in because their starter like really hurt their elbow, and then the backup quarterback got hit hard and his helmet popped off, so he had to come
Oh
out for
wow.
one play. So Carson Beck, the starter, came back in with literally his right arm flopping to the side, and they handed it off to their running back and walk in touchdown, won the game.
Wow. Wow. Very, very exciting. A great game, huh?
Yeah, great game.
Also, the Clemson game was pretty good.
Mm-hmm. They
I
beat Penn's. Nope, SMU. They beat SMU.
Yeah. Yeah, game-winning field goal, 34-31. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much a wrap up on the college football season.
Yeah, regular season's over.
Yeah, going over the playoffs and stuff. Miami and Iowa State fall short in their games, but for Miami and Alabama, they are out. They missed the playoffs.
Yep. First year we have a playoff in college football, 12-team playoffs, and in that first year, Miami and Alabama of all teams did not make said playoffs. Pretty surprising.
Pretty shocking, especially because Miami's quarterback Cam Ward is the projected first overall pick
Mm-hmm.
in the NFL draft, and Alabama is, Alabama.
Yeah,
They usually make it every year.
exactly. So to go over our official playoff bracket that is set and ready to go for, I think the first game is like the end of the year, so we still have a couple weeks because now we're in the bowl season, and the Gators did make a bowl game. Oh, so the Gators, going over our teams, finished I think 6-5,
I think 7-5.
7-5,
Yeah.
7-5, and they made a bowl game.
They
Notre
beat
Dame,
the Knowles.
yes, they did. That was just very good. Notre Dame, my team, finished 11-1 and made said college football playoffs. So your 12 seed, because they won the ACC championship game, is the Clemson Tigers. They will be playing Texas in the first round, the 5th seed. Next is Tennessee, the 9th seed, taking on Ohio State, the number 8 seed. SMU is playing Penn State, the 11th seed, playing the 6th seed. And it's official in Happy Valley, Penn State is going to be a whiteout playoff game, and that atmosphere is going to be unreal.
Didn't you say like all these are home games?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Which is
going to
something
be
we
awesome.
haven't seen because every playoff game that was played before was at neutral sites.
Correct. So
yeah, that's going to be insane.
This is going to be so cool. And then number 10 Indiana will play number 7 in Big Bend at Notre Dame Field in front of Touchdown Jesus, the number 7 Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And your 1 through 4 seeds, Oregon, who's the only undefeated team this year and still by far the favorites to win the championship. Georgia, number 2, Boise State, number 3, and Arizona State, number 4. They
what
all
a
have
season for them.
Yeah, they all
way.
have first round buys. And it's funny, the Pac-12 that lost all their teams last year, that conference, 2 of the teams from the old Pac-12, Oregon and Arizona State, are in the college football playoffs and have first round buys.
Yeah, that's crazy. I am so excited to see how these playoffs play out with the new format. Early, maybe a little preview, early picks, because we'll be doing a video on our full bracket predictions and who we think is going to come out on top. I think with the season Arizona's had, they could make some noise. They might be able to pull off, an upset.
They could.
I don't think they necessarily win the title, but
They'd be playing Clemson or, who did I say?
Clemson or you bring it back up.
Damn it. We just talked about it. Come on, Shay. They would play either Clemson or Texas. If they played Texas, I don't think they would win. But Clemson, they might. You never know.
Yeah.
Moving on to our Heisman Trophy Award finalists. This is the MVP of college football basically. It is a very prestigious award, and
My boy Joey B has won this award.
that's right.
Yeah.
Devontae Smith, my boy, has won this award as an Eagle. So
Oh yeah.
your first finalist is the quarterback for the Oregon Ducks, Dylan Gabriel, has 3,558 total yards and 28 passing touchdowns. The current favorite to win the Heisman Trophy award is Colorado's Travis Hunter, a two-way player, has 1,152 receiving yards on the year and 4 interceptions. Two-way player, very special.
Wow.
My personal pick for to win this year, because he's had a historic year, Ashton Genty of Boise State, the running back, had 2,497 rushing yards on the year. He did that in 12 games. 12 games. He broke the NFL record in 12 games.
That's over 200 yards rushing per game.
Yeah, and finished with 29 rushing touchdowns.
That is fucking crazy.
Yeah, so he's my personal pick. Cam Ward of Miami, the quarterback, as Jarvis just talked about, is the last finalist with 4,123 passing yards, leading the nation, and 36 passing touchdowns. So, when the awards are is given out, I believe next Monday. I might be wrong, but I think next Monday. Of course, we'll cover it and let you know who the winner is.
Wow. I wonder the last time we've seen a running back of that caliber. You know, was it like Saquon Barkley? Like,
No, it'd be like Reggie Bush in 2005 with the USC.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's a shame if he doesn't win, because the reason why Travis Hunter is a favorite is he's a fantastic two-way player that we haven't seen in football in a very long time. So
Wow.
it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. Yeah, we'll see who wins it. Traditionally, Heisman Trophy winners have been picked high in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
But some of them have not, panned out. I think one that comes to mind is Johnny Manziel.
Manziel.
Manziel, yeah.
Yep.
So it'll be very interesting to see. And, the NFL draft's still very far away, but we got a couple of my teams are probably in the running for the top draft pick.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the NFL. But before we get to my teams that have disappointed me all year, we're going to talk about the good teams. The good and the bad. Shay, your Eagles have clinched the playoff berth.
They did. We had a scary win against the bad Carolina Panthers, who are not as bad as last year. Bryce Young has shown a lot of improvement since he was benched, and the Panthers have looked a lot better, so they're kind of a tough out right now. So we did barely beat them 22-16, and a little bit of drama came out after the game because A.J. Brown is not happy that the passing game kind of sucks right now. But
oh yeah, didn't he make like public comments on a podcast or something?
He made public comments in the locker room, and then our defensive end Brandon Graham made public comments on a podcast saying that him and AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts aren't friends anymore, which I just hate to hear. Just leave that in the locker room. Don't bring that out into public. But yes, the passing game has sucked, but Saquon is kind of been the reason why, in my opinion. So
I mean, you can't argue with the results.
No, so I think AJ is going to have a big game next week because he's been upset, but it's against a tough Steelers defense, so I don't know. But yes, Eagles got a playoff spot, probably going to win the division at this point. But so did the Lions.
That's right. The Lions had a big win over the Packers, I believe 34-31 with another Jake Bates field goal.
Yep.
Game winner. Right. Man, I love that guy. It's really hard not to hate that Lions team, like we've always said. With this win over the Packers, because I know we had, maybe some questions down the stretch with the divisional games, but they played a great game. I think at one point they were up 17-7. They buckled, but they did not break.
No, they are one of the top teams in the NFL by far. Currently, still the top team in the NFC at 11-1, but they have their toughest opponent this upcoming weekend in the Buffalo Bills.
That's right.
That's gonna be a
we'll-
great game.
We'll get to the Bills. We'll get to the Bills in a minute because
Yep.
there's a lot to unfold. But everyone's favorite team, the Kansas City Chiefs,
Yep.
clinched their 9th straight AFC North Division title in the most Chiefs way possible with a doink field goal game winner off the left post and in 19-17 over the Chargers.
Yeah, the Chiefs. It just seems like not only can they win in any situation, even if their offense isn't that good or whatever. Now, luck is on their side.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of like voodoo rituals Andy Reid and the team did, but this year, obviously, I don't believe the NFL is rigged at all.
No.
But with the way the year has gone for the Chiefs, I could potentially see like the argument with the wins that they've had. But still, it's just the Chiefs. They find a way to win. They make defenses nervous on the final plays of the game, so they take the penalties. Yeah, they know what needs to be done, and
They get
can't count them out.
No, you can't.
So that's the Chiefs. The Bills lose. Moving on, the Bills lose the game of the year.
Oh yeah, what a game!
44-42. The Rams won that game, but Josh Allen with maybe like his, best performance of the year by far.
Yeah.
Had 3 passing touchdowns and 3 receiving touchdowns or rushing touchdowns. Rushing touchdowns. He went 22 for 37 with 342 total yards and 10 carries for 82 yards.
6
rushing.
total touchdowns.
Yeah. What the fuck? Josh Allen, you are a fucking monster.
Freak of nature.
Yeah.
Freak of nature.
If there were any questions right now about Josh Allen being the MVP, this game has just launched him into clear first.
And they still lost, which is that just I think makes the Rams look even better because that game was incredible. No turnovers and no sacks. Literally just perfect football from both teams. That's what you want. You couldn't ask for anything else.
Oh yeah, just fantastic game. And with that win, they clinched their 5th straight AFC East division title.
That loss because they lost. You said that win.
Or yeah, they lost, but they still clinched because other teams.
Yeah, the Jets lost.
Yeah,
no one cares about the Patriots. The Dolphins are too far out. Yeah, Josh Allen is just he's something else.
Watching him on that field, I can't say enough. Like he is the guy. Like he is a game changer.
I know why Haley Steinfeld said yes to marrying him.
Just incredible. Trying to pull up playoff picture.
Oh, I didn't even realize.
Okay, I'll just edit this out.
Yeah.
So people don't see this. Okay. Not showing like if the playoffs start today. So do I need to go on like NFL Facebook?
Yeah. I actually just had it up.
I just had it up too.
Yep.
Okay. All right, you go.
All right, so after just drooling over Josh Allen because he is incredible. We're moving on to the current playoff picture after Week 14. Only a few weeks left of the regular season, so we're getting towards the end. So we're gonna start in the AFC. The number one seed still right now, and now they extended their lead because the Bills lost. Kansas City Chiefs, pretty much expected. The Bills do have the number 2 seed. However, they're tied with the Steelers because they have the same record at 9-3. The Steelers have the 3 seed, with that being said, and Houston, who's been quiet as of late, has the 4th seed. Number 5 is Baltimore, 6 is the Chargers, and 7 is the Broncos, who I think are surprising quite a lot of people.
Yeah, with that defense they have, they could pull off a huge upset in the playoffs.
Yeah, and Bo Nix is really, really coming to form. Moving to the NFC, the Lions hold the first round, or the number 1 seed, sorry. The Eagles do have the 2nd seed right on their heels, but we have a tough game against the Steelers this weekend. The Seahawks are in the 3rd seed. The Bucks in the 4th. Then the Vikings, who, listen, the Vikings are real, people. They are for real. Justin Jefferson, 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards.
Jordan Addison had 3
touchdowns.
Sam Darnold, 5 total touchdowns.
The Vikings are for real. The Packers in 6th seed right now, and the Commanders in the 7th seed. This was also the last week of bye weeks, so from now on, the next 4 weeks of the season, no more bye weeks. Everybody's playing.
Yeah. So outside of all of that, we still got teams on the bubble, but most of these teams are probably not going to make it. So in the AFC, it shows the Colts, Dolphins, and the Bengals still on the bubble. Right now, the Colts have a 27% chance of making the playoffs. The Dolphins have a 13% chance, and the Bengals have a 3% chance. So you're telling me there's a chance.
Yeah.
We've also got teams that have been eliminated. So in the AFC, the Browns, Jaguars, Jets, Titans, and Patriots and Raiders are all mathematically eliminated from the playoffs.
Yeah.
And for the NFC, the Seahawks are the division leader, but they still show a 65% chance of making the playoffs.
Well, they're the 3 seed though.
For the 3 seed, yeah. So that I found that kind of interesting.
Yeah.
The Rams, which they've been, getting wins as of late, they have a 30% chance of making the playoffs. The Falcons, who have been slipping, have a 38% chance of making the playoffs, which is interesting. The Cardinals have a 9% chance. 49ers have an 8% chance. And it still shows Saints, Cowboys, Bears, and Panthers, but they have a 1% chance or less.
Yeah, they're just
they're not going to make it.
They're just not mathematically eliminated. Yeah. Right now, the best division of football is the NFC West. They're all right around 7-6 or 5-6 or whatever. It's great division.
Yeah, for sure. If the Bears had not lost like 4 in a row, it would have still been the NFC North.
Yeah.
The Giants are the only team that are mathematically eliminated, which happened a while ago.
Yeah.
So that is the playoff picture. I find it interesting how the Falcons still have like a high probability. I guess, they think on paper they're a good team, but they've really started losing and the Bucks have started winning. So
yeah, Cousins has looked not good.
Yeah. So if the Falcons are gonna get in the playoffs, they have to win the division.
Yeah.
They're not gonna get in with a wild card.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see who makes it and who doesn't, but let us know who you think comes out on top. Getting after the playoff picture, we got my teams who, as of now, are in the running for the draft lottery or the top pick in the draft. This week though, the Jaguars got a win.
They
with,
won.
Mac Jones.
They saved Doug Peterson's job.
Yeah, but the win they got was incredible and not in a good way.
Correct.
10-6 over the Titans.
And I was watching NFL Red Zone this past Sunday. and they kept just going to the game, and it was nothing the whole time, or 3-0 Titans for a long time. And even the host Scott Hansen was like, "All right, we're gonna step away from the Jags and Titans. We'll just let you know if something interesting happens." And then they didn't go back until the Jags like scored a touchdown.
Yeah, just incredible. I'm very sorry for whoever was at that game.
Yeah,
he probably fell asleep.
probably.
The Bengals though did get a pretty good win. That second half they did not look great on offense. The defense actually did their job. That game, so it's a good sign. They win 27-20, but just in the most incredible way. So Cowboys defense did their job all night. They made the stops. Micah Parsons was having a great night.
Yeah.
Perfect. So the Bengals have a 3rd and long. They get stopped, so they have to punt it. Cowboys blocked the punt, which would have put them, if they had recovered, they would have put them in prime field position for a field goal, no doubt, with Brandon Aubrey. But after the block, the Cowboys player touched the ball, so now it becomes a live ball, and Cincinnati recovers that punt to put them in prime field position, and then Chase Burrow connection, game over.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
I mean, the Cowboys still had like a minute and 20 seconds, so they could have gotten into field goal range, but Cooper Rush just couldn't hit the targets at that point.
Yeah.
So
if Dak was there, I would have been worried, but not with Cooper Rush.
Yeah. After the game, Micah Parsons was just beside himself. He didn't even shake hands. He went straight to the locker room.
Yeah, he left early. He went to the locker room like with 20 seconds left.
Yeah, he was gone.
Yeah. I love to see
just disaster. That is now, I think, like 6. They're like 1-7 now at home, or like 1-6. The Cowboys. But for the Bengals, this also hurts their draft capital.
Yeah. If they win another game or two, they're probably going to be out of the top 10 in the draft. So it's not ideal, but
I mean, a win's a win, I guess. I mean, I was happy they won over the Cowboys out of all teams.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
And with that win and Joe Burrow's performance, Shea missed the playoffs in fantasy.
I did.
But we'll touch more on that next week. But yeah, I thought for sure the Cowboys were going to win, and I've never seen anything like that before.
Yeah, it's
And as soon as Cincy recovered the ball, like all the Cowboys players, put their hands on their helmets, and they just could not believe what had just happened.
Things aren't going too well over in Jerry World right now, and I'm all for it. But that will end this week's episode. Stay tuned. Sometime soon, we'll have to work it out. But stay tuned for our college football playoff bracket and our picks for the winners and who's going to be the college football national championship. Make sure you go check out our YouTube, subscribe. It's free. You also get day early access compared to any of the other platforms we post on. However, if you listen on Spotify or anywhere else, we love you.
Thank you.
And thank you. But
to listeners like you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. But thank you everyone for tuning in. We appreciate it. Happy holidays. And we'll see you next week.